Good morning to everyone. I think I should especially acknowledge our Commissioner, Doris Tsepe, in the room. And of course, she was also our host last night to a fantastic, typical South African event. Thank you very much for that. Let me also acknowledge the commissioners and heads of competition authorities of BRICS members and partner countries that are here, and excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just start off then by thanking the Competition Commission of South Africa for this invitation, and allow me to please convey the apology of South Africa's BRICS Sherpa, Ambassador Xolisa Mabongo, who is today involved in other G20 presidency commitments. Ladies and gentlemen, let me then just reflect on a few things that we do in BRICS and that we then also experience as we are now heading up the presidency of the G20 and actively participating in BRICS as a full member of the bloc since 2010. The geopolitical and geoeconomic shifts from a unipolar to a multipolar world are both dynamic and challenging, with intense global competition and heightened geopolitical tensions resulting in an escalation of regional conflicts and what we could call trade wars. In the global south, we find ourselves in a space where international law and multilateralism are both being weakened and no longer protecting the interest of the majority of the world. We are witnessing an increasingly divided world with a wavering commitment to the Global Sustainable Development Agenda, which is already having a marked impact on the well-being of people in the developing world, as attention and resources are shifted elsewhere to global conflicts. The non-aligned developing world, largely far from regional conflicts, continues to bear the brunt of the economic and social impact of conflicts, unilateral and protectionist economic measures, and anti-competitive and predatory business practices. Weaponization of global payment systems, global food and energy security, and global supply chains are undermining the progress in the eradication of poverty and the attainment of the Sustainable Development Agenda. Hence, the very fitting theme of your 9th conference that refers to the uncertain times that we are now experiencing. Ladies and gentlemen, we are only 5 years away from the 2030 and from 2030, and yet we are even further away from realizing the future we wanted when we adopted the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In the 2030 Agenda, we all recognize that eradicating poverty in all its forms is the greatest global challenge of our time and an indispensable requirement for sustainable development. We committed ourselves to a common agenda for humanity that we would see us collectively addressing climate change, conflict, poverty, and insecurity. Recent developments have demonstrated so clearly how the global North and South lack a common understanding about how to resolve issues that impact the majority of the world. Decision-making in multilateralism needs to be democratized so that institutions can effectively respond to the needs and demands of the larger global community, particularly developing countries, instead of being driven by narrow self-interest. it is indeed the vision that drove, it is indeed this vision that drove the founding of BRICS, the desire to shape a fair, just, inclusive, equitable, and representative multipolar international system with the United Nations at the center, being fit for purpose and clear in its benefits to all humanity, listening to all and not just the agendas of a select few. Here we need to pause to place the emphasis on what I have just said, and that is basically that the recognition of the UN as the world's multilateral system is imperative. BRICS is not about creating an alternative system to the UN. It is about supporting the reform and the strengthening of the UN and the world's multilateral system to become a truly inclusive one. In a multipolar world, existing architectures, systems, and processes must be refined. The transnational challenges we are grappling with require intensified cooperation, yet our institutions are facing legitimacy and accountability crises. Whether it is the Bretton Woods institutions, the World Trade Organization, or the United Nations Security Council, our structures have become too rigid, too narrow, and too disconnected from today's realities to effectively deliver on their mandate. In fact, it has become broken and obsolete. And those, of course, are not my words, but the words of the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres. To overcome this paradox, high levels of political commitment and innovative methods are required. Reform is no longer a diplomatic aspiration, it is a necessity. Multilateralism must be made more democratic, more regionally representative, and more accountable to the people of the world. Innovative 21st century solutions cannot be delivered by a 20th century framework. 80 years ago, the UN was established to rebuild a peaceful, prosperous, and people-centered world arising from the devastation brought about by global conflict. We committed to collective action and cooperation to achieve a life in larger freedom as envisaged by in the preamble of the UN Charter. We all pledged to uphold the interlinked and mutually reinforcing pillars of peace, development, and human rights underpinned by international law. Now, more than ever, these pillars remain an incontrovertible truth and require our collective commitment to upholding them. Multilateralism and the implementation of the UN mandates are unfortunately challenged by the severe financial crisis faced by the UN. The large-scale financial withdrawal of the US from the multilateral system exacerbates a long-term trend of failed commitments and reduced contributions to the development agenda by the global north. The impact on the 2030 agenda and 2063 agenda of our continent is further worsened by the substantial and sudden withdrawals of official development assistance. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, BRICS has a key role to play in modernizing and reforming the global order. As I mentioned earlier, not in establishing an isolated alternative system, but in reversing the geoeconomic fragmentation driven by disruptive actions aimed at re-establishing old hegemonies and undermining the growth and development of the global south. Most of our countries are dependent on a stable global trading environment for the economic development and the And the current geo-economic fragmentation is having a disproportionate impact on African countries vulnerable to global shocks. The rules-based multilateral trading system with the WTO at its core remains a vital expression of interdependence. Until recently, a significant amount of trade, over 80%, occurred under the WTO terms, although that figure has now declined to about 74%. This specific aspect was highlighted when our BRICS heads of state and government met earlier this week. In fact, they met on Monday in an extraordinary BRICS summit dedicated to the current geopolitical environment that we find ourselves in. So you can rest assured that even on the level of BRICS heads of state and government, these matters are discussed seen in a very serious light and often discussed. BRICS must lead in the strengthening and the reform of the multilateral system, or risk the encroachment of a global trade regime based on power dynamics. Global trade must work for all. WTO reform, as I said earlier on, must be development-centered. South Africa's vision of BRICS is strongly anchored in a BRICS that brings benefit to our neighborhoods, regions, and the broader global South. Our actions should support a global South on the rise, rich in talent, innovation, and untapped potential. The global South is reeling from the impact of war, of ever-rising food and energy prices, of spiraling debt, of unilateral tariff and trade wars, and these new shocks to the global trade patterns are, of course, going along with the intensification of problems created by sovereign debt, overhang, and imbalanced tax regimes. They are creating uncertainties for policymakers, consumers, firms, and look likely to deepen and divide us. Hence, again, the importance of our competition authorities. Despite this, the world's richest 1% has increased their wealth by more than $33 trillion in real terms since 2015. More than enough to eliminate annual global poverty 20 times over. Inequality of this scale poses a serious systemic risk to global economic, social, and political progress. As G20 presidency, South Africa has launched a new extraordinary committee of independent experts chaired by Nobel Prize-winning economist Professor Stiglitz, and among others, experts from Brazil and India to deliver the first ever report on global inequality to G20 leaders when they meet later in the year. The experts will report on the state of wealth, of income inequality, the impact on growth, poverty, and multilateralism, and present a menu of effective solutions to leaders. I do apologize that my speech is slightly on the long side, but it's a unique opportunity for us to share how government feels about these things, so please bear with me. So let us shape a new paradigm of multilateral cooperation anchored in equity, sustainability, and development. We must use our institutions to drive development across Africa and the global South. We must also use our collective voice to advance reforms to modernize multilateral development banks and their mandates, and to better reflect the voices and priorities of developing countries. We need to unlock scaled-up finance for the needs of the global South and catalyze investments in early warning systems, resilient infrastructure, community-led adaptation, and people-centered just transition pathways. Most importantly, we must move away from traditional orthodoxies that generate business as usual strategies rather than grappling with complex and inconvenient truths. BRICS has already invested large brains in a large brains trust for BRICS with the institutionalization of the BRICS Academic Forum, the BRICS Think Tank Council, the BRICS Business Council, the BRICS Women's Business Alliance, the BRICS Youth Council, and the BRICS Civil Council, just to name a few milestones in the institutionalization of the bloc. Many of their recommendations are focused on collectively addressing obstacles to our economic partnership, just like you are doing in the conference, which represents a confluence of expertise and experiences of competition authorities. The question is how effectively we as government and agencies are engaging with these recommendations agreed collectively by BRICS business, academia, and civil society. Are we ready to deal with our uncomfortable truths about our own regulatory environments and anti-competitive behaviors in a mutually respectful spirit? Excellencies, we need to pivot from crisis management to strategic action, from energy fixes to collective growth and development. I strongly believe that when BRICS unites in solidarity to co-create solutions, we unlock exponential, tangible, mutual benefits to BRICS members and the broad global South. The current geo-economic and geopolitical environment provides a golden opportunity for us to do things differently, a commitment on the part of all of us to sustainably address our own barriers would position BRICS as a stable and predictable, mutually beneficial trading partner amidst the current global disruptions. This would also be an enduring BRICS legacy as other trading partners revert to unilateralism and protectionism in retaliation to the USA. Excellencies, it is important that BRICS remains true to its founding principles and continue, now more so than ever, to champion the core interests of the Global South, especially overcoming economic, financial, and political marginalization. Let us take this opportunity to take a leadership role in shaping an emerging international order that is more fair, just, inclusive, equitable, and representative. A good starting point would be to stick to the basic principles of risk diversification by identifying alternative markets for our trade and investment flows. In this regard, we cannot overemphasize the importance of finalizing the BRICS Economic Partnership Strategy for 2025 to 2030. So it's a 5-year strategy. It's our chance to diversify away from traditional markets with grueling, punishing conditions. These, I do believe that this strategy will also then highlight those areas, those sectors, those fields of focus for competition authorities going forward. Let us leverage our combined economic cooperation to the Global South on a new trajectory of progress, prosperity, and self-reliance. Let us move from solidarity with like-minded emerging markets and developing countries to collective action for the benefit of all our people. And indeed, as was mentioned by our commissioner and host of this meeting, Mayor Doris Chepe, let us continue to strive towards more than just traditional enforcement. When next we meet, we should be able to report on our improved markets that work for all our citizens, a higher level of innovation, and more resilient economies that can withstand the tests and the shocks of the times we live in. I thank you. Good. Should I stay? Are there any questions? No, it's fine. It's
right. Thank you very much, Mr. Joubert, for the very high-level speech you promised. So we are now going to our next session. It's the session of the heads, and it's the session about BRICS agenda in the next 5 years. I'm going to call the heads into the stage, starting with Commissioner Doris Tepe. Please come to the stage. Mr. Gustavo Augusto, the interim president of CACE Brazil, please come to the stage. Mr. Wang Tihan, Chief Inspector of Anti-Monopoly, SAMR, Samar, China, please come to the stage. Mrs. Ravnet Kaur, Chairperson of India, please come to the stage. Mrs. Shinda Hapsari, Consul for Economy, Republic of Indonesia, please come to the stage. Mr. Maxim Shaskolsky, the head of FIAS Russia, please come to the stage. Her Excellency Safaya Al-Safi, UAE, please come to the stage. And let me just make sure that I did not leave anyone. Oh, there's no enough. It's okay. So it's another new problem.
I'll move.
Oh, you can.
I'll speak from there.
Thank you, Commissioner. Did I call everyone?
I did. You called everyone. That's why Rasinali speaks.
Thank you. So over to you. You have each 10 minutes.
I did inform you that our program directors are quite strict. Thank you very much, Makhale and Princess. Thank you again, Mr. Joubert, for that illuminating keynote address, reminding us of our responsibilities and why we are here, but not just as competition authorities, but in the broader economy and humanity of the world and what our role could possibly be, and we hold a big responsibility to do so. So thank you very much for those words. Agility is required everywhere, not just for the markets. Makhale, my 10 minutes hasn't started, hey? I need all of it. I'm quite impressed, I must say, as we are, that so many of you, after last night, still managed to wake up. I think At 5 to 9, Makale was in here and there were only 12 people and I was getting a bit worried. So I'm glad you all are here. So I think what we thought to do with today's morning session, and welcome again everyone, was that we've had discussions yesterday on some of the issues that faced the globe and the BRICS countries. And so today what we're wanting to say is, being who we are, representing 36% of global gross national income and 46% of the world population, as we come to the close of our conference, can we look at what can we do in the coming years as BRICS competition authorities to see what are the things that we need to be focusing on as BRICS countries to try and solve some of the world's problems, not just our internal concerns, but concerns that affect the globe. So I am here together with, as Makale has mentioned, with the heads of authorities of the BRICS countries to try and have an engagement on how we can do this moving forward. So I think what I thought I will do is I will start and give you some of our reflections from a South African point of view. Obviously, these are not prescriptions, but they are contributions to our collective thinking as BRICS member state. And I do think that some of these issues, you would have heard and seen them through the discussions we have had. So they are not new. Some of the problems we've been speaking about, speak about it. I'm going to speak about it as we are called upon to do. Look at a local focus, look at an African context, obviously, but then also more broadly from BRICS. I think locally, we will continue as a competition authority of South Africa to look at the imperatives that the current administration has asked us to look at and see how we can deliver on that. Inclusive growth, job creation, addressing poverty and the high cost of living, and the development of a capable developmental state. And this will require us to look at prioritization of sectors targeted for growth. And these include the green economy, digital markets, industrial sectors, tourism, mining, and agriculture. We also, obviously, as a competition authority, need to be focusing on removing barriers to entry and expansion in these markets, particularly for small and medium enterprises and those who have been excluded in the past. And the aim here is to promote investment, innovation, and job creation. We need to continue monitoring and responding to critical cost of living drivers, including on food, healthcare, and administrative prices. And here, our cost of living report is one of the areas that we'll continue to focus on. As we have already started, and I think we need to be looking at that, reforms to critical infrastructure markets to promote competition and globally competitive pricing is absolutely key, and it's necessary, and we need to look at that. From a global agenda, as I said, I think as BRICS members, I think there are quite a number of things we could be looking at multinational measures, greater levels of cooperation on global measure analysis and remedies, especially in the context where the global north retreats from oversight of concentration amongst their own companies. So focus areas are likely to be in digital markets, pharmaceuticals, and in agribusinesses. On food, our deliberation revealed imbalances that developing economies find themselves in. They produce the bulk of agricultural outputs, but capture little of the downstream value. So global reforms to commodity markets to limit speculative trading on future exchanges and by commodity traders while building a more resilience to supply shocks and price spikes. I think this is one of the areas that are going to be absolutely key as we move forward. In healthcare, I think global reforms to the patent system to limit secondary patenting and development of fair pricing principle for lower income countries particularly is going to be absolutely key. And we're seeing most of the BRICS countries actually doing this already, and I think it's something we're going to have to move on. As we heard yesterday in digital markets and AI is emerging as an indispensable market infrastructure, but capabilities remain concentrated in few jurisdictions. So we need to ensure fair competition in digital markets to ensure domestic digital industrialization and ethical AI use to prevent exploitation of consumers. And I think in this area, this is something that we all have already started working on, and I think it's something that we even heard yesterday from the minister, from the deputy minister, emphasizing this area as a key area of growth that we need to be working on. So I think the BRICS focus on these aspects would help ensure inclusivity and resilience in AI development. At an African level, I think African integration is quite critical. We need to accelerate the operationalization of the continental competition authorities and addressing barriers to market integration on the continent. And this is one of the areas I think as multilateralism is breaking down, this is the one area of integration that is required on the continent. BRICS multilateralism, I think we need to promote this system, which is built, as the Deputy Minister emphasized yesterday, which is built on mutual development and global achievement of the UN Social Development Goals, so that we all are engaging as equals as we develop our countries. Colleagues, I think these priorities reflect common challenges across our economies and the opportunity for collective impact. They also remind us that our cooperation must deepen not only in enforcement, but also in policy development and capacity building. South Africa stands ready to contribute to shaping this shared agenda in the spirit of collaboration and inclusivity. I thank you. Before I sit down, I think I will then hand over to Mr. Gustavo de Lima for the Brazilian approach on this. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay. Thanks so much. Good morning, everyone. I believe we are going to suffer a few incidents like that, Commissioner Doris, because our group is getting bigger, so we're probably going to need a bigger boat, all right? So everybody can be, but that's a good problem. That's so the BRICS institution is very different from other institutions that we had formed during the 20th century that were based on the results of the Second World War and the Cold War, or they were based somehow in military alliances. And BRICS has a very different way of being formed, a very different agenda. It's a peaceful group that was formed and based on trade, on cooperation, on mutual interest, and it reflects the 21st century, meaning it reflects the future, it reflects a world that's more plural, that the voices are heard all over the world and not in one specific area of the world or one specific continent. So Brazil is quite glad of being part of this group, and that's quite good that we're going to see a few new faces. And yes, let's make a bigger stage and put some more chairs, and that's all good. And first of all, regarding Brazil, we haven't been looking at what's called standardization patents. That's a very new team that we're handling. We just issued a publication on that, and we issue a decision on that on the case Motorola Lenovo. And one of our concerns is technological standards being established by companies and then being explored when different companies want to put their products in the market. Let me give you one example. If you want to establish one new cell phone or any equipment that needs to use the cell phone network, like an AirTag or something like that, you probably need to use hundreds of patents that are owned by private companies, and they are not optional. If you do not own one single of these patents, you cannot access a public network that were established as a pattern in every single country, and very few companies dominate this technology. So what CADE has ruled very recently is that if you are the owner of a patent, and that patent is used as a standard for one technological standard or integration, just like the 5G network, you need to license that by a non-discriminatory price. It does not mean it should be free. You should charge for that, but you cannot exploit this price. Meaning you have to have an objective way of being pricing. This should be, the public should know how you charge that, and it should be friendly. So we are, of course, following the friendly standards that are already well established in the Europe, and reinforcing that as antitrust agencies. Meaning, if you are the owner of such patent, you offer that patent to be the standard of a new technology. If you refuse to do that, we can force you to license that by a price that's more more objective and close to the market. So we had one very large case where the parties actually enter in agreement, but we are setting that as a policy. We heard yesterday Mr. Alexei talking about the agriculture business and the financialization, digitalization of agriculture. This is a very strong team, very interesting team. This is not the first time we're hearing about that. We already had issued a statement in Kazan in 2024, in Rio de Janeiro 2025, regarding specifically the food chain market. I believe we should take it further. Brazil is taking a lot of investigations on the sector. Right now, we have already spoken about that yesterday. This is, I believe, the subject that we should move forward, maybe have a joint inquiry between our countries or exchange experiences in this specific kind of investigation. And this is, I believe, a theme that we should continue to address and maybe explore it even further. Not only because it's a very important sector, but it's because it's food security. It's a way of ending poverty. It's a way of improving the quality of lives of hundreds of millions of people. So this is something that we really should address and really should be focusing. Regarding integration and trade, I see it's essential that BRICS continues to strengthen their ties and engage in discussions on market access. We must reaffirm our commitment to multilateralism and promote trade openness, cooperation, and shared responsibility. Open trading is important for competition. It provides that new companies can access the market. It helps young entrepreneurs. It improves quality of life for our consumers. It makes prices go down. So, of course, we are not talking about completely openness or an unregulated trade market, but a smart open market, meaning if it makes sense to make the market open, if we can make it easier, let's do it. And of course, each country sometimes needs to protect their market for strategic sectors, that's okay. But if there is not a very good reason to close it, let's open it. Regarding digital markets, we need to deepen our discussions on that. I believe we are going to see a huge tsunami coming, which is AI. And this is going to completely change our market and what we do and how we work and how the economy works. And whoever is winning this war, I'm not sure if we're going to have one single winner, but whoever is winning this war is going to rule the next century. So this is something that BRICS should cooperate to develop the technology, make the technology accessible, help small companies, because small companies are going to suffer the most. Think about the labor market, think about infrastructure. We are going to need more ships, semiconductors, but we are going to need energy. Energy is going to be key, and countries need to have a very good infrastructure to provide power to all these new computer centers if you want to survive in a healthy economy. So this is a key subject that we should address. We should look into it and make the technology accessible for all the playing field. Otherwise, the game is going to be rigged. If companies do not have access to top technology, to top AI, they are going to be left behind. My final subject regarding digital economy should not be an end in itself. Digital economy should provide a better quality for our consumers, should provide a better way of life. So digital economy is very important. We need to work together as BRICS to make sure what the standards are. We have very different investigation all over the world. We have the DMA in Europe. We have different standards in the US. It seems that every single authority is deciding it its own way. And probably what we should be doing is discussing remedies together, so we do not impose different remedies in different jurisdictions. So Brazil right now is already discussing one remedy with Apple regarding the app market. We wanted to make it more accessible. We want to make it competition, so you would have more than one app market in your iPhone, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. So we need to probably discuss it more in next encounters, what kind of standards we're going to establish in these digital markets to protect our consumers, and maybe try to enforce it in all over jurisdictions, as long as we can discuss what the standard should be. And that's my final theme, but I have one additional point to make, which is, well, the next event is going to be in Brazil, in Brasilia. We are hoping to have you over there. Brasilia is a very huge city. It's 3 million people, so it has a very good infrastructure of hotels. We have flights coming from all over the world. It's an easy connection from São Paulo. And you're going to see a city that was planned in the 20th century. So it was actually a city built from scratch. That area used to be a desert, so we had the artificial lake. All the architecture was built from nothing, basically from dust. So it's quite interesting city. It's very different architecture. And I was told that our residential buildings were made resembling Moscow. So probably our Russian friends are going to see over there and see if that's right or not. But it's very standardized. The buildings in what we call the pilot plane is very standardized. So we are going to be very happy to receive you over there in 2 years from now. So thank you very much. And
thank you so much, Mustafa. I think you raised important questions, and I think some of the points you're making, the Deputy Minister also raised with regards to digital markets and AI, for example, that we need to be looking at these in a way that benefits society and make sure that we do so as equals, engaging in this and making sure that the people of the world do benefit from all innovations that come out of this. And we are going to, hopefully most of you will still be around at the closing session when Gustavo tells you all about what's going to be happening in Brasilia. Thank you very much. I'm going to now turn to Mr. Tihan on where China thinks we should be going in the coming years. Mr. Tihan, over to you.
谢谢。谢谢主持人，也谢谢在座的各位，大家上午好。那么很高兴呢，就金砖国家在竞争监管方面未来发展的重点和方向进行探讨。那么我觉得在中国啊。
A methodology about the next 5 years in terms of competition. Especially in today's closing session, we are talking about the next 5 years, what we should do. I think this theme is very interesting and very necessary. So I would like to discuss with everyone with regards what China plan to do in the next 5 years in terms of this particular field of anti-monopoly and in terms talking about the regulation, about the competition. First of all, for the next 5 years, I think we will make sure we maintain the regulation of the digital economy. So as beginning from this year, as we have seen, it's the broader explosion of this digital economy. We have seen there are those platform e-commerce city. They have already used the platform. Just now I've heard Gustav from Brazil has also talking about this. So next 5 years, I think we will regulate, make sure and to protect essential livelihood sector and safeguard consumer rights. And at the same time, I think we want to emphasize, strengthen anti-monopoly enforcement, leverage the regulation to protect innovation, and innovation, make sure the regulation to protect innovation, and competition, make sure to promote innovation. So this will fully stimulate society, dynamism, and innovative capacity. And secondly, we will continue targeted anti-monopoly enforcement action for those livelihood sector. We believe the technology innovation is definitely the foundation for every single country of BRICS. So with the background of those scientific, especially make sure the fair competition, I think it's very critical. And in the daily practice, we have seen the authority of the competition of each country. They have already notified those regulations actually as in some certain degree, they actually didn't really encourage the innovation of those monopoly. We have to promote, we will enhance the smart regulation to improve those enforcement efficiently. So we believe in the digital area, we want to make sure to explore those establishment of the unified platform for fair competition review. Thirdly,
so we think that regardless of its scientific and innovation or enterprise development, we think that it is very important that we should benefit the ordinary consumers and to benefit the public interest. Therefore, in China, we need to improve the livelihood and life quality for the mass. And so that's why we talked much about the food, pharmaceutical, and other issues related to the ordinary people. And we consider that this kind of competition management is very important in these sectors, so as not to distort the market and not to damage the benefit of the people. So we must safeguard the interest of the consumers and help to improve the life quality of consumers. In the future 5 years, we would enhance our effort in antitrust enforcement in pharmaceutical, automobile, and public utilities, so as to maintain a good order of competition and also safeguard the consumer's interest. This is our ultimate goal. And in the future 5 years, we will also enhance our own construction, such as the smart administration based on the IT and other technology. Now we are in the digital era, so that's why we need to resort to the advanced technology in our daily administration. As in China, we have a saying that we need to constantly improve ourselves along with the challenges. Therefore, in the 5 years ahead, we are going to join hands with all of you to implement the new and high technology into this daily supervision and administration on sectors related to competition. And we will keep establishing such infrastructure platforms based on the new and high technology so as to enhance and strengthen our capacity and improve our efficiency. And lastly, I would also say that we particularly hope that the BRICS countries can strengthen and boost multilateral cooperation in the fields of antitrust. And in the future 5 years, the Chinese government is eager and active to participate in international collaboration, particularly with BRICS members, and we will try our best to establish a multi-level and comprehensive cooperation framework. So we look forward to more information exchange and best practice exchange, which is vital for all of us to improve our capacity. We will also hold like the China Competition Conference and also similar events in China while attending other global meetings and conferences. Thank you.
Mr. Tihan, I think one of the things that I find very interesting on your address is reminding us of our role as competition authorities in ensuring that we enforce competition law for the benefit of the markets that we are operating in, to ensure that there is innovation, that there is competition, and that the prices do come down. So thank you very much for that. There is a theme already coming. I'm not forcing you, Ravneet, to confirm this, but there is a theme already that we are seeing on various sectors and the kind of collaboration we're looking at. It means we've been in the same room, at least the three of us who've been here. Ravneet, over to you. Let's hear what you have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris. So it's a pleasure hearing the perspectives and views already mentioned. I would like to, in fact, endorse them as well. So, what has happened is that over the last few years, BRICS has grown in importance. We are now having a significant share of the global gross national income and also the population of our countries. So, the way we perceive BRICS in the future is that it will become even more important and significant player which will determine the global discourse. So this recent expansion that has happened in the BRICS membership is very welcome, and that's a testament to our importance as a group of countries, and it also provides us an opportunity to view competition governance through the lens of the global south. So that can be something which can shape the future in a significant way. Now, where do we look at BRICS? Now, BRICS, the agendas which from the Indian side we would like to mention are a few. Of course, we would continue to be focused on digital markets. That's one area which keeping the digital markets free from anti-competitive conduct and transactions is very critical, because it will eliminate barriers to entry. It will provide opportunities for innovation, and especially coming from India, for us, the protection of the startup ecosystem is a very important consideration. So we look at ensuring that not only the big players or the gatekeepers, they grow, but they also allow others to grow. And the startup ecosystem is able to thrive, innovation prospers, and the upscaling of smaller entities is supported by the competition authority. Recently, we've done some work on that front. So with a view to enhance our enforcement toolkit, we brought in some reforms. So one of the key reforms is that we have now, for the merger review, have a deal value threshold, which talks about in case the target value exceeds rupees 2,000 crores, Indian rupees, then the mandatory approval of the Competition Commission is required. So that's something where we feel that there could be strategically important mergers which are happening, but are not getting captured within the asset turnover thresholds. And that's becoming even more important with a lot of these platforms providing free services and the incomes not being available within the country. So most of it gets hived off. So that's one way of looking at mergers, which will enhance the scope of the Competition Authority of India. The second thing is to ensure that our enforcement happens much quicker, because in digital markets, you can very quickly reach a tipping point. So we need to be able to ensure that the market corrects quickly. And for that, we have brought in a settlement and commitment framework. Under that, the parties can come and settle with the Commission once any investigation shows that contravention has happened. And there could also be a possibility that, we do a prima facie view, and immediately thereafter, the parties come and say, we would like to make commitments to you, and we are willing to change our conduct and not resort to anti-competitive practices. The third aspect where we thought there was a gap was with regard to cartels. So we have brought in hub and spoke cartels. You may not be part of a cartel, you may not be part of an agreement, but as a hub, you are providing support and facilitating that cartel, that conduct in the market, and that's having an impact. So we brought the hubs also into the cartel enforcement. The third area where we're looking at in terms of digital markets is ex ante. Can we look at ex ante regulation? So we did have a digital competition bill which was drafted, and there were stakeholder consultations held. After that, there were some concerns, and we thought it's better to go back and do a market study. Let's have an impact assessment even before we do an ex ante. So let's not just rush into it, keeping in view what's happened in EU in terms of the DMA or the CMA's DMCC. So let's do a market study and look at what's going to be the impact of that on the Indian market, especially when I indicated at the beginning that, with a very vibrant startup ecosystem, we need to be careful, and we need to know what's going to be the impact of the interventions that we do. So digital markets is going to be a focus area. Here also in the BRICS, we have a digital markets working group. So I see that the inputs and insights that we get from that group will be very useful for us in shaping our interventions in digital markets. The second area, which was just talked about, is artificial intelligence. And it's too big, it's happening very rapidly, and it's not digital markets alone. We are finding that adoption of AI is happening both in traditional industries and in digital markets. So it's going to have huge amount of impact. And somewhere we may have to look at it as to what can be the implications of that, the potential collusive conduct which may happen, and who would be accountable for it, and who would be required to correct it. So this was an area where we were really very much concerned about, and we said, you know, let's not look at jumping into anything, and we'll do a market study. So we've done a market study on artificial intelligence and competition. When we were trying to do this market study, a very important thing which came up was that artificial intelligence is all across the board. So it's going to be too huge, a market study. Are you really going to be able to get that impact? So when we framed our terms of reference, we were very clear. We're just going to focus on what's going to be the implication for competition. So we've done a market study. We had a third party which helped us do it. And we are now going to be very soon releasing the report of that market study. And we're looking at initially possible some self-regulatory guidelines for companies adopting AI techniques, AI applications. What can be the way, instead of as a competition regulator just to get into enforcement straight away, let's look at what can be the ways where the companies can ensure that the anti-competitive concerns don't come up. So we would be coming out with that report in a month's time. We are at the final stages. So I think artificial intelligence is another area where the BRICS can focus on it, and we would all benefit from learning more about it, because it's something which is going all across every industry, every sector, and there are a huge amount of benefits, but somewhere down the line, there could be some concerns which we need to be aware of. The third aspect which I would compliment the Competition Commission of South Africa for taking it up in the first session, which is sustainability. Environment, sustainability, climate change, clean energy. So those are the areas where we would like to work more. We are already doing a BRICS study on renewable energy, and we've got inputs from our earlier members. We are now waiting for inputs from the new members who have joined, and once we get the inputs from them, we would be able to bring it before the BRICS framework, all the countries, what we have done on the renewable energy sector. Because that's one area where, as I mentioned yesterday, out of most of our goals, a large part of it is focused on energy, moving to renewables, ensuring that we are net zero in emissions. So the renewable energy is an important area for us. The fourth area which I would like to mention is global value chains. What is the impact that's having, even in terms of trade policy? What are the implications, and especially when you look at the agriculture, food sector, agribusiness. So those are the areas which can be very critical and could also have a huge amount of implications for the well-being of our populations. Lastly, of course, as I mentioned throughout, is that we're looking at greater collaboration. We're looking at more insights from all our member countries for us to be able to address issues more effectively and more quickly, because that's becoming a very important aspect. That is, the corrections, market failures must get corrected as soon as possible. So that's where I look at it, that we can't work in isolation. So we're really dependent on the international community to provide us inputs, to exchange practical insights, to understand what are the evolving approaches, what are the kind of enforcement toolkit which are being used by other countries. So I feel that as BRICS, we can shape the international discourse, and working together, we can be more effective in our jurisdictions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ravneet. I actually liked the point you were talking on market studies, and I think we have found, firstly, that we have them as market inquiries for a number of reasons, and I will explain that. But we found that where you are focused in your market inquiry, you're likely to get better outcomes out of that intervention, as opposed to bigger studies that actually make you not come to outcomes a lot quicker. But also when you're more focused, it means your interventions happen, and they happen with speed. Without necessarily being hasty. So I do agree, and I do think that, and I think Christopher also mentioned this, that there are different interventions that are happening, particularly in digital markets, and we found that market inquiries are better interventions as opposed to regulations necessarily, or even enforcement in some instances, because as we know, the world over, enforcement in these markets will be 10 years down the line, while the market is shifting and changing as you move along. So I think from our point of view, and that's why these conversations are very useful, because they make us learn from each other and see what is working elsewhere and how we can learn from the other BRICS members. But I think the other issue that you're raising, which I agree totally with, is that we're not only looking at ourselves as BRICS country, but how do we shape the global agenda in a way that is that benefits everyone. Thank you so much, Ravneet. I think I'm going to move now to Mrs. Shinta Hafsari for an Indonesian viewpoint.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As we have a habit in Indonesia, we always say our prayers for all of us to be in prosperity and safe. Salam sejahtera. So my apologies that our commissioner from Jakarta is unable, but he sent us a warm greetings, a very warm one from tropical island. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy that we all here for what we see as a future cooperation between Indonesia and BRICS. And of course, over the next 5 years, we're hoping to strengthen our partnership and promote economic growth, innovation, and consumer welfare. But before that, I would like to take you to Indonesia, because ever since I stepped on this room, everybody is talking about Bali and how they've been wanting to go to Bali. But you know that Bali is only one of our 17,000 islands. Yes, 17,000, 17 with lots of zero behind. Anyway, why I'm talking about Indonesia, because if you see the numbers, you would know that the challenges that we're facing is very, very great. And that we have 280 million people. I think we will add up more this year, perhaps like 281 million people. You can imagine that. And also all of us, we consist of 700 ethnic groups with 800 languages. You can imagine in this room, nobody speaks the same language. You know how hard it is to be the commissioner of the competition law. And not to mention that 60% of our population, around like 170 million of those population is in the productive age, which means workers, young entrepreneurs, and nowadays we have startups. And so now his obligation is getting larger. So that's why, ladies and gentlemen, that the Commission has been established for 25 years. I hope none of you is younger than 25. And that We as the authority has experienced developments in our enforcement advocacy. In addition to that, we are enforcing our competition law, and there is this one law that is also reshaping everything back in 2021, that we have the job creation reforms. You can see that 170 million workers are depending on that law. So in this case, the Commission is having additional mandate under the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSME. We have that law to oversee the partnership between large size and some would be multinational enterprises to be able to work with the MSME. And that is why it provides a unique feature for Indonesia and Indonesian competition regime compared to others. I'm sure that you all know, probably you all know that we are one of the youngest, the newest member of BRICS. I think we've been joining since January 2025. I remember the date because the date is my birthday, so yes. so they celebrate, so the president celebrate my birthday by signing a nice contract, yes. But long before we joined the BRICS, we've already have cooperation with, of course, commissions from other countries. But now we're hoping that we could intensify the cooperation. We've been invited to conferences, and though sometimes we cannot join directly, personally, but we are happy to get updates on the development of competition law in BRICS countries. We've also been involved in 3 activities or surveys conducted by BRICS as a respondent. And we would like to thank BRICS for that good opportunities. As a new member, we still have a lot to learn from other members of BRICS, and we really do hope that we can cooperate more. We call it closely in Indonesia. It's not that close between Russia, Brazil to Indonesia, but we wanted to be closer to you guys. The areas of concern that we put on so much effort is, one of them are food and commodities. I specifically say food first because I remember yesterday's food was great. Thank you for the host. The commodities, digital markets, and pharmaceuticals. And especially talking about the digital markets, as I mentioned earlier, our growing Gen Z is too familiar with the digital ones. I'm a millennial, so I'm not that familiar. But we are addressing competition issues in digital economy, including platform dominance and ensuring a level playing field for businesses. And as a new member, we would also recommend several things for BRICS. The first one, that Indonesia is hoping that we could encourage knowledge sharing and capacity building among member countries to enhance our expertise. Like I said, we still have lots of things to learn from other member countries. And the second one would be, we need to schedule our regular meetings. I hope you can also invite me later on in other countries. And I think this meeting would bring, we can share experiences. I heard so much about the cartels yesterday from Brazil. If you could see me back then, my face turned so afraid. But I was also talking to the South Africans, and they were, he's actually praising us for our way to deal with the nickel cartels. And it took us 2 decades, but we did it. And that is why we need to schedule our regular meetings, so we can share, and we can learn from each other. And then also establish clear communications through channels, through channels to ensure that we can exchange any information in real time. We need to identify areas of common interest and launch joint programs to promote cooperation and mutual benefit. And the last one but not least, we should all engage to relevant stakeholders. You can see by being a country of 17,000 with 17,000 islands and 800 different languages, engaging with everyone is necessary. So that means it will include businesses, academics, civil society, of course, to leverage their expertise and resources to, at the end, help us to create better policy. And I have a special request from Jakarta that in the near future, Madam, ladies and gentlemen, that our commission will hold International Competition Forum in Jakarta in December 11, 2025. The event page and registration will be open next month, and we all hope to welcome all the BRICS members in Jakarta, and after that you can skip to Bali. I don't mind, it's only 2.5 hours. You can call me for that. And for the closing, Indonesia is always believe in cooperation. We have this fourth, what we call principle of Indonesia, that we always put cooperation first. So that is why our cooperation in competition policy and law will be a key to boost our economic growth, innovation, and consumer welfare. Let us work together to promote fair competition, drive economic development, and build a brighter future for youngsters like me. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone, for laughing with me. It is my anxiety speaking here on behalf of our commission. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Shinta. I'm very glad you had one of the best birthday presents in January. It's always important to make these important steps as personal as possible. We tend to sometimes disassociate ourselves as people from the benefits of the world. But thank you very much. And we, as Ravneet said, we are very happy to have this group of BRICS countries expand so that we cover as many as possible in the world to try and make this world a better place. You have almost confirmed in terms of sectors, the sectors that we keep talking about and their importance in the world. And I think it's not just for BRICS member countries. In fact, I think these are genuinely issues that are affecting the globe. I think we're having a direction that I think we generally are all agreeing on. But you also are confirming, as Gustavo said, how we operate as a bloc. That is with collaboration, knowledge sharing, working together, and being efficient in how we do our work for the betterment of those we regulate and those who consume the products that we are regulating. So thank you so much. And hopefully most of us are able to come to Jakarta and then to Bali thereafter. Thank you for the invitation. Maxime, I'm going to hand over to you now where you think as Russia we should be going. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning, dear colleagues. In recent years, BRICS has become a new center of gravity in the international economic system. BRICS currently represents 45% of the world's population, covers 33% of Earth's land area. According to the International Monetary Fund, in 2025, BRICS will account for 40% of global gross domestic product and 41% in purchasing power parity. Each BRICS country has its own development path, its own models of economic growth, rich history and culture. Such a civilization diversity, a unique combination of national traditions, high strength and enormous potential for cooperation. Acting jointly on the principles of equality, partnership, support and consideration of each other's interests, BRICS countries are addressing most pressing issues of global and regional agenda. Cooperation in the field of anti-monopoly policy is an integral part of the joint work of BRICS countries. We all recognize the importance of healthy competition for economic growth and improving the well-being of the population of our countries. BRICS competition authorities have extensive legislative and enforcement experience in the field of anti-monopoly regulation. We are pleased to share our knowledge with each other and our partners. Successful results of cooperation between BRICS countries in the field of competition policy have been repeatedly noted by our leaders in declarations following BRICS summits. Over the past 2 years since BRICS competition conference in New Delhi, we have paid much attention to building interaction with competition authorities of new members countries and establishing a constant dialogue with them. Active work was carried out to formalize cooperation between competition authorities of old and new BRICS member countries. We invited competition authorities of new countries to join the BRICS Memorandum of Understanding that was signed in May 2016. The memorandum serves as a basis for our cooperation and defines interaction formats. The procedure for joining the memorandum by new member countries was proposed by the first Russia in the year of Russian chairmanship in BRICS in 2024 and was launched in summer 2025. I hope that competition authorities of Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, and Ethiopia will soon join the memorandum. It is important that by this work we fix the procedure for accession of other competition authorities in case of potential widening of BRICS in the future. We continued work in extended membership in all formats provided by the memorandum. It includes BRICS Coordination Committee on Anti-Monopoly Policy, as well as BRICS Working Group for Research of Competition Issues in Socially Important Markets and BRICS Working Group on Cartels. Anti-monopoly regulation of markets that are vulnerable to economies and the development of competition in them is an absolute priority for our competition authorities. We reflected this commitment in the joint statement on maintaining healthy competition in socially significant markets, which was adopted in 2024. It was one of the first BRICS documents developed and adopted in extended format. Important part of our work is joint project activity. This contributes to achieving the goal of strengthening interaction in law enforcement and also increases the openness and predictability of the activities of BRICS competition authorities. Over 10 years, we have prepared a large number of reports devoted to the assessment of anti-monopoly regulation measures in socially significant sectors of BRICS. In 2023-2024, with the assistance of BRICS Competition Law and Policy Center, we launched a new study of BRICS agricultural market. As a result, the report containing proposals for improving anti-monopoly regulation of food markets was prepared. The report was presented earlier during the events of our conference, and I thank my colleagues for the productive joint work. Given the high social significance of this market, the recommendations set out in the report will be relevant for the entire global community. Moreover, the results of the study proved that response to existing challenges must be developed at global platforms, including UNCTAD. That is why, within the 9th United Nations Competition Conference, which was held in Geneva in July, BRICS competition authorities, at the suggestion of South Africa, came up with an initiative to define the topic of competition development in global food chains as one of the priority areas of UNCTAD activity for the next year. Collectively, we fixed this topic in the conference resolution. This will allow us to study fully this issue and consider best practices. Another priority area of joint activity is development of competition in the pharmaceutical sector. Currently, we are conducting the study of the pharmaceutical market with the assistance of BRICS Competition Law and Policy Center. The study will assess state of competition in the field of creation and circulation of biologic medicines with a focus on issues of ensuring consumer access to more modern and promising generics. I hope that a report based on results of the study will be finalized soon. Also this year, Competition Commission of India coordinated the work on the study of competition issues in the renewable energy sector. It is particular importance in terms of increasing sustainability of our economies as well as environmental safety in our countries. We continue to pay increased attention to the digital sector. The finding of the digital reports of BRICS competition authorities prepared earlier were taken into account when considering cases against large digital companies, as well as when implementing a number of legislative and law enforcement initiatives in BRICS. Today, we are faced with such challenges in digital markets as the rapid growth of influence of artificial intelligence on competition environment. BRICS competition authorities need to deepen their knowledge in this area in order to prevent anti-competitive practices associated with the use of artificial intelligence and maintain fair competition in digital markets. We began to study this issue during the April meeting of BRICS Working Group for the Research of Competition Issues in Digital Market, which was held in Moscow this year. At the same time, this issue is being actively studied at other international platforms. For example, the competition authorities of Commonwealth of Independent States have recently begun studying the risks of artificial intelligence for competition. Currently, they are preparing a report on this topic. I am convinced that we need to exchange practices and experience. Synergy of efforts is a key step in developing an integrated approach to regulating artificial intelligence technologies and studying their impact on digital markets. BRICS competition authorities are now elaborating joint statement on consolidation of efforts and the enhancement of international cooperation to maintain fair competition in digital markets in the context of widespread implementation of artificial intelligence technologies. I am convinced that we will soon adopt this statement. Like with food markets, at the initiative of BRICS competition authorities, issues of regulating digital markets taking into account the development of artificial intelligence technologies was chosen as a priority area of UNCTAD activity for the next 5 years. This will allow to assess risks of artificial intelligence for competition, long-existing anti-monopoly regulation measures, and assist in their improvement. I am confident that even earlier by the BRICS competition conference, which will be held in Brazil in 2027, we will be more proficient in this matter. As I have already noted, BRICS Competition Law and Policy Center provides big support to conducting research in socially significant markets. It is important that BRICS Center continues its projects and research activities in the field of anti-monopoly regulation of socially significant markets. We also need to cooperate more actively with BRICS Center to develop advanced solutions for improving anti-monopoly legislation in BRICS countries. BRICS competition authorities continue to cooperate with law enforcement. Such cooperation optimizes resources, allows us to discuss approaches to considering cases and mergers, and make most balanced decisions that are consistent across jurisdictions. At the same time, currently there is a demand for closer cooperation in considering global mergers. BRICS competition authorities need to create a coordinated system of control over concentration, the so-called merger radar. It will allow monitoring transactions in BRICS and assessing their consequences for national markets. Such a radar could become not just a cooperation mechanism, but a system for coordinating countries' positions on how to influence jointly the global economy, global markets, and global value chains. I hope this work will be intensified. The radar could become a part of BRICS Global Cooperation Platform for Fair Competition, which we have already discussed many times. We could launch the platform with the assistance of BRICS Center. This format of cooperation will allow identifying problem areas of monopolization and cartelization, and in general, areas in the global economy that require special antitrust attention. Deepening cooperation will allow us to formulate a joint response to other global challenges. Today, we see that with the introduction of unilateral measures by a number of states, when access to resources is restricted and supply chains are disrupted, unequal conditions are created for market players. This can create preconditions for the conclusion of cross-border cartels. BRICS competition authorities pay special attention to combating cartels. In 2023, BRICS competition authorities prepared a review of BRICS licensing programs. This made it possible to strengthen the coherence of work of BRICS competition authorities and bring our practices in this area closer together. We need further study and a deeper understanding of conditions and principles of investigation of cross-border cartels. BRICS competition authorities must consolidate their efforts to respond effectively to this challenge. Our first step was to develop a joint statement on consolidating efforts and strengthening international cooperation to effectively combat cross-border cartels. I am pleased to announce that the joint statement has been agreed by all of us. I propose to continue not only to exchanging experience and practices in this area, but also to improve mechanisms for suppressing this type of anti-competitive practices in our countries. Global standards of cooperation in investigating cross-border cartels are needed. This has been rapidly restated at the platforms of international organizations, including UNCTAD. In order to implement the joint statement, I call on BRICS competition authorities to begin developing such global standards that meet the interests of our countries. It is important to develop further BRICS plus outreach format, which allows us to involve competition authorities of countries that are not part of the BRICS. For a long time, BRICS competition authorities have been cooperating with each other within a number of other interstate associations and international organizations, such as Shanghai Cooperation Organization or Association of Southeast Asia Nations. Considering that issues studied within different associations are similar, it seems appropriate to combine work carried out by BRICS competition authorities with the specified platforms. We shall continue joint work in UNCTAD platform. As a practice has shown BRICS competition authorities influence global competition agenda. Consolidated position of our authorities is a significant argument when elaborating UNCTAD resolution documents. This allows us to fix in the documents the provisions that meet interests of our countries. In conclusion, I would like to express my confidence that in the next 5 years, BRICS competition authorities will respond appropriately to pressing global challenges that our economies will face. We have potential to propose and implement adequate responses to emerging risks. Today, BRICS competition authorities are not just participants in the global competition community. They influence the formation of global competition agenda and, more importantly, are becoming the center of generating new ideas and opinions. Together, we represent a huge power in the field of creating pro-competitive conditions in global markets in order to achieve the growth of our economies and improve the well-being of our people. I thank all participants of the conference who contributed to this important event. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maxime. I think I think it's very important to, from what you said, to emphasize the importance of our participation within UNCTAD. UNCTAD has been one of those areas that have, in fact, been supportive of the developing countries' agenda in broader global markets, and we're very pleased that Mr. Terera Moreira was able to join us this past 2 days, and we really appreciate the work that you continue to do, Teresa, in UNCTAD, including at the last competition and consumer policy conference in July this year. Thank you so much, Maxime. I will now hand over to Her Excellency Safia Al-Sifa for a UAE approach. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellency, esteemed colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is both an honor and privilege for the United Arab Emirates, represented by Ministry of Economy and Tourism and its competition department, to join this distinguished forum for the very first time following our country ascension to the BRICS group. We extended our deepest gratitude to the government of South Africa, represented by the Competition Commission of South Africa, for warm hospitality and in hosting this 9th International Competition Conference under the timely theme, Competition Law in Uncertain Times. We also thank the BRICS presidency colleagues from Brazil for their invaluable support and leadership of the BRICS calendar during 2025. The UAE views this moment not only as an opportunity to learn from our partners, but as a responsibility to contribute to shaping the futures of fair competition for competitive and resilient markets across BRICS and beyond. Over the past 2 decades, BRICS has evolved from a promising idea into one of the most influential economic grouping in the world. It now presents over 1/3 global income and nearly half of humanity. But its importance goes far beyond numbers. BRICS has the potential to serve as both stabilizer and uncertain times, and as a source of innovative competition policy solutions for Global South. In our internal agenda, 3 priorities stand out. First, strengthening enforcement capacity. BRICS authorities must invest in building robust institutional frameworks, digital enforcement tools, and capacity sharing mechanisms. Emerging authorities such as UAE Competition Department look to learn from the advanced systems of our BRICS partners while contributing regionally insights from Middle East. Second, promoting resilience and inclusivity. Our competition policies should safeguard against excessive concentration in critical sectors, such as energy, digital platforms, and food supply chains, while also fostering including growth by enabling small and medium enterprises to thrive. Third, enhancing intra-BRICS cooperation. The UAE strongly supports coordinated market studies, cross-border collaborations, and the creation of structured platform for exchanging data and best practices. Our collective credibility will rest on our ability to demonstrate tangible outcomes for cooperation. Looking outward, the BRICS group has historic chance to set the global tone on competition law and policy. In our view, two key themes should drive the agenda. First, sustainability and climate transition, and the competition policy has a role enabling sustainable energy market, supporting green innovation, and preventing anti-competitive barriers in transition towards renewable energy. The second point is Global South representation. BRICS should articulate the representatives of Global South in international debates on competition and trade policy. The UAE, as a bridge between regions, is commitment to advancing this dialogue in collaboration with our BRICS partners. Excellencies, the world is indeed navigating uncertain times. Yet, with uncertainty comes opportunity. Opportunity for BRICS to demonstrate leadership, unity, and innovation in shaping a fairer and more competitive global economy. On behalf of the UAE, I reaffirm our commitment to actively contribute to this collective journey. Together, we can ensure that the BRICS agenda over the next 5 years not only advances our internal priorities, but also delivers lasting impact for global markets and for the billions of people whose welfare depends on the competitive, dynamic, and inclusive economies. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Safia. Makhale, I see we are now at 11 o'clock, and I think I will just summarize quickly so we don't waste any more of your time, particularly for the academic conference that's about to start. But I think, Safia, you'll agree with me. There has been, in fact, areas of commonality from all the member states that we've seen, starting with the sectors. And I think what I found very interesting is not the expansion necessarily of the list of priorities, but in fact delving deeper into some of the areas that we are already working on. I think there is a agreement on food and food value chains, global value chains, that we need to continue to concentrate on this area and look at how best we can collaborate and cooperate going forward. Digital markets and AI are two other areas where there is area of concern. Pharmaceuticals is another area, and I think there are lots of work that we are all doing. I think Russia yesterday was talking about the work they are doing on study on biosimilars, which is something that South Africa is also doing. All of us are looking at pricing on pharmaceutical products, and I think it's an area that we continue to work on. And lastly, I think sustainability and competition, clean energy, green economy, ensuring that as these sectors are growing, we are ensuring that we are opening them up and that there is greater participation and that the innovation that happens for the benefit of us all. So I think there has been that kind of agreement across the board. So we have been in the same room for the last 1.5 days. One area that I think is of importance that I take up from this conversation is a strong commitment to BRICS in the current context to rebuild fair multilateralism and to ensure that we integrate the new countries that have joined BRICS so that we have a much broader a group of countries that are rebuilding a fair platform for global engagement. And I think for me, this is something we need to be doing and doing much better. We need to be engaging, and I think this is the view that came from Indonesia, is that we need to just not be talking as amongst ourselves as agencies, but to be talking with all stakeholders, the businesses, civil society, the governments from which we come from. And I think we are much like to get better outcomes if we engage in that way. But this engagement is not just amongst the BRICS countries, but we need to ensure that we influence the global institution on conversations that are happening. And I think if we are to do this in the next coming 5 years, I think we are likely to get the outcomes that better serve our humanity in the world. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you all for sharing your views and your direction of where you think we need to be going as a group of countries who wanting to build a better world for all. I thank you. Thank you, Mahali.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thank you very much to the heads for your insights. Thankfully, we are on time. So I'm going to ask that as we break for tea, everybody must get back into their sessions, the academic sessions, exactly at 11:30, so that we can all fit in as much as possible. And I'm going to ask the moderators to please be strict with time because there's a lot to do and a very short day left. So the first sessions are going to begin from 11:30 until 13:30. And then the second sessions, and then after that we break for lunch. Then the second sessions will start at 14:30 and end at 16:30. And straight after that, we're going to ask that everybody come back to this hall for the closing. So that's why the moderators really need to be strict with time. And then in terms of logistics, the first session, so session 1A is going to be in this hall. Then session 1B will be next door to my right. Session 1C will be upstairs in room 11. So the moderators for each session just need to keep track of where they are. And then the second sessions will be in the exact same venues. So A, B, and C will be exact same venues as well. And then with that, I think we are good to go. You have a few minutes to just grab a snack and then head to your respective venues. And then we'll see you all back here again at what time? 16:30. Thank you.
I would like you to come at 16:30. Brazil will be presenting to us what's going to happen next, so you don't want to miss that.